Wow, this looks delicious. Really, it looks great.
So upon starting our adventure in Resident Evil 7, our main protagonist, Ethan Winters, would soon find out that he's in the midst of a complete nightmare, because in the foreseeable future, he'd be haunted and sometimes invited into the gruesome world of the Baker residence, with the most hospitable one being the matriarch of the family.
Ugh, why are you so stubborn?
But don't let that fool you though, because behind this welcoming nature of this character, a lot of sick and disturbing facts would be revealed, things that could traumatize any individuals who's unfortunate enough to see such terror. So with this, let's move on closer and inspect the story of Marguerite Baker, the secondary antagonist within RE7, as she tries to care for her victims in her own demented way.
Oh, good. I'll be back in a little bit to check on you.
Marguerite Baker, like the rest of her family, would play as the main villains during the course of the storyline in Resident Evil 7, with Ethan Winters arriving at the Baker residence at DeVuH, Louisiana. Here, Ethan would be acquainted with the Baker family.
I just got done dealing with your mom and her fucking bugs.
This would be the proper introduction to all the antagonists of this game, though more specifically in this video, we'll be focusing more on Marguerite Baker, because before our introduction to this seemingly pleasant psychopath,
Is there anything else to eat?
You don't need nothing else. Now eat your goddamn supper!
Marguerite Baker was actually far from that, because it's revealed throughout the game and the DLC that comes along with it that Marguerite, like the rest of her family, would be infected by the new mold strain, a bioorganic weapon developed by the organization called the Connections. And to help with the spread of this new variant of a strain, an E-type series, or more so called Eveline, would be used to help infect those around her. Well, it comes as a revelation sometime in October 2014 that a shipwreckage incident would happen near the Baker residence. This was all due to a hurricane hitting the area. Jack Baker, the patriarch of the family, would go on to investigate the wreckage, and in doing so would find Eveline, not knowing that she is the physical embodiment of the mold strain.
Oh God!
Well, upon arriving at their home, Jack and Marguerite try to tend to the seemingly innocent and young girl.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Showing how hospitable and caring they were for those in need, Marguerite in a way would treat her new guest as one of her own, cooking for her and giving Eveline a place to stay for the time being.
Let's get this poor girl some fresh clothes and into a warm bed. We'll put her in Lucas's old room.
Oh, come on, can't you put her somewhere else?
Oh, Lucas, you just hush. You've long outgrown that room. Always wanted to run a bed and breakfast.
Got your big break, didn't you?
And to clarify some storyline confusion within the game, there are two versions that retells on how Marguerite got infected with the mold and how quick that transformation was, because with the first version could be foretold within the main storyline of the game, which here it does state that she did make contact with Eveline in the same manner after the shipwreckage and the hurricane, but the main difference here was a prolonged transition from her regular human self to her more psychopathic and mold influenced version. A note written by Marguerite summarizes these events. October 11th, my ear has been ringing all day and I haven't been able to sleep since that child showed up. It's like Zoe says, there's something strange about the child and the woman she brought with her. October 15th, I'm seeing things, hearing things, can't stop feeling nauseous. I went to see the doctor in town and he gave me an x-ray. What's happening to me?
She will join us, become one of us.
October 23rd, the child gave me a present.
No thanks, bro.
October, I put the present in the secret room right at the back of the second floor where nobody will find it. That arm is a sign of the child's trust. That arm will lead us to happiness, and anyone who corrupts that happiness, I won't allow them to live.
Alrighty then.
So after reading that, we can conclude that the infection took at least several weeks before Marguerite became a full-blown psychopath due to the mold strain. And what's interesting here is a small detail on how that transition took place and the symptoms that came along with it.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
Though another file would be found which was a response from the doctor's visit that Marguerite had after reviewing her x-rays, which that information states, "Dear Mrs. Baker, how have you been feeling recently? It's been a long time since you came in for your last checkup. I'm writing to tell you that I've finished examining your x-rays, and those dark areas in your cranium are fungus-like structures that seem to be related to the mold. The hallucinations and noises you said you've been hearing may be related to these growths. If your symptoms are due to a fungal parasite, it must be removed before it's too late. I don't mean to scare you, but I am seriously concerned for your health. Please come to the hospital as soon as you read this letter. As your doctor, I strongly recommend that you undergo further tests."
My goodness, you'll be dead within a month.
So in a way, the doctor does confirm that the constant hallucinations and hearing of voices may be attributed to the fungus-like infection, a perfect answer to what was truly going on within the Baker residence and the spread of the mold strain within their family. Well, this would be the first iteration of Marguerite's transition to madness due to the mold. The secondary retelling of this story does come in the DLC playable game called The Daughters. Here, it shows again on how the Bakers came into contact with Eveline after the shipwreck and the hurricane, and again in this initial point of contact would cause their infection with the mold strain.
They're mine now.
Though unlike what we've covered in terms of transition into a psychopathic killer, in this version, Marguerite Baker's transformation happens so suddenly, she would be the first to show signs of madness within the household, showing us her version of crazy and her new powers of producing insects within her.
Look at all the pretties my little girl is giving me!
And within this DLC, a small moment of clarity would be seen, again highlighting the hallucinations and hearing of voices that Eveline had over her victims, which was a callback to her discussion with her doctors and the effects of the fungus-like infection within her head.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong. Mama. Stay away. Don't touch her. Don't hurt my family.
I don't understand, Mama. What's going on?
Here, take it. Take it. Go.
Don't worry, Mama. I'll go get help.
Anyway, so far we learned that Marguerite Baker, prior to her infection with the mold strain, was actually a very caring and hospitable mother. This was shown on how she treated Eveline once rescued. But what's interesting among the Baker family after being infected with the mold, Marguerite Baker generally kept her caring and nurturing ways, but in a very sick and sadistic version of it though.
I figured you still hadn't eaten yet, so I brought something else for you.
Because shortly prior to Ethan Winter's arrival to their residence, the Baker family would capture a crew called the Sewer Gators, who's known to travel and visit so-called haunted areas. This included the Baker residents due to their absence within their community.
So, Hillbilly Joe and his family go missing.
Not hillbillies, the Bakers. Jack and Marguerite Baker.
Which in the time span of 3 years, the community has barely heard anything from the Baker family, concluding that they may have died within that time frame. Well, the unfortunate Sewer Gator crew would be captured by the Baker family, with one being impaled, and the most unfortunate of the crew would be Clancy, the cameraman.
That smells good, don't it?
This looks delicious.
Oh, good.
Because shortly after his capture, Clancy would find himself within one of the bedrooms of the Bakers. Here we see Marguerite Baker again welcoming her guests in her own way.
Wait, is there anything else to eat?
You don't need nothing else. Now eat your goddamn supper!
Well, the tragic life of Clancy continues within the bedroom for the time being, trying to navigate his way to escape. Though if we move too many items around, this could happen.
Huh? Now hold on just a minute. That picture was there in the corner for a reason. This is what you get.
No. I'll be good. I'll be good.
You better behave yourself now.
Again, I find it interesting that even after being infected with the mold, that Marguerite does still retain some parts of her original personality, though this iteration of feeding her guests of whatever this is,
Oh God, I love home cooking.
in a way was a twisted version of her true self, which this interpretation of her serving their guests with a meal would be something that shows how caring and hospitable she was prior to her infection. But in the twisted manner that we see now after being infected with the mold strain, we see a completely different rendition to this so-called meal.
Shit, he's not eating it, Jack! He's not eating it!
Shut the hell up, Marguerite!
with the contents used to make such a delicious and appetizing course comes from the baker's newly developed cannibalistic taste, again all due part to the mold strain, and also with the help of the many victims they've kidnapped and cooked up in the last couple of years.
Oh God!
Well, by the time Ethan arrives at the Baker residence, not much has changed in terms of how insane Marguerite was at that point. If anything, she becomes more twisted as we play along, because going through the game, we encounter her many times in almost like a cat and mouse type of encounter.
What the fuck? Well, that's special.
Where we have to navigate around the area while she patrols, though a small segment we play as Mia Winters, which by the end, Marguerite Baker does find us.
Where do you think you're going?
Ethan, please help me.
No thanks.
Ethan, help me.
While to Ethan's encounter with Marguerite, she does still try to attack us with the swarms of bugs inside of her or within the residence. The explanation and how she was able to use these insects comes from her new ability of being able to produce and control them, and to be more specific, they are a type of mold insects created in part due to Eveline's spread of her infection.
That's disgusting.
And what's more gruesome is the fact that her body slowly transforms into an insect-like creature, with a climax to this transformation was with our final encounter with her. This results of her having elongated limbs, with the way she crawls on walls or ceilings like a spider. She even grows an insect-like bulb in her lower abdomen area, again further extenuating that transformation into an insect.
Oh my god, why am I seeing this?
Though in the end we do defeat her, but the lasting impression of her transformation was truly terrifying, almost an amalgamation of insects and that girl from The Exorcist.
Amen.
So where does this leave us now with Marguerite? Well, there would be a few more scenes that she would be mentioned afterwards. One was when Jack Baker finds out that you killed her, and the final would be the vision that Ethan Winters had of Jack Baker in a normal state, explaining what was going on from his point of view, revealing to Ethan that they were just a normal family, which in the end does reinforce that the Bakers were truly victims of the mold strain just like everybody else.
Me and I weren't the only victims here. So were the Bakers.
Anyways, what did you guys think about Marguerite Baker, and how do you compare her to the other Baker family members within Resident Evil 7? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, if you guys enjoy the content, then please feel free to like and subscribe, and check this video out right here for more content like this. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you guys have a great rest of your day, and this is DeVuH, and I'll see you guys on the next video.
Wow. This looks delicious.